Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. Get ready to ramp up your songwriting. Hey everybody, John here. Welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. We're in our third month in 2025. Can you believe how quickly this year is flying by? If you have not gotten your copy of the NCS Songwriting Challenge Guide, check the show notes. It's a 31-page downloadable PDF where I'm helping you to add one new skill per month to your songwriting toolkit. I mean, imagine, the year's going to go by, so imagine being an amazing songwriter and adding so many skills to your life and to all that you want to do to express your testimony for God through this songwriting challenge. It's absolutely free. It's a lot of fun. Our free monthly trainings are around this. Our podcast is geared around each themed month, and it's so exciting. So I hope that you'll go to the show notes and download that guide today. So this month, March, is all about building the business around your music. You know, it's like any ministry is built on the spiritual side, which we know, we love Jesus, we have this testimony, everything he's done in our life. We want to help people worship him and come to him and surrender their lives to him. There's that spiritual side, but there's also the practical side. And so that's what this month has been about. I'm so excited because my guest today is the go-to performance and business coach for creative, forward-thinking companies and executives. Hello. For about 20 years, he's worked with CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, however many O's there are out there, and top-level professionals to reach their peak performances by helping them focus on four things. We're going to talk about that today: people, sales, profit, and self. His clients range from Fortune 500 companies to country music bands, Christian artists, entertainment groups like Sony Music and Creative Nation, wealth managers, Enneagram coaches, and even little old me. I've had the privilege of working with this wonderful friend we're in our third year now. He is my business coach, and he speaks into about everything we do here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. He's just a vital member of my team, and a very dear friend. So welcome, Chris Weinberg.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey, if I can
happy to be here.
Stop stumbling over my words.
You know, just keep going, man. That's quite an intro. Happy to be here.
You're my best friend.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Man. Well, it's been a fun 2 years. I think we kind of connected. Summer will be 3 years.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, time flies.
It's been an incredible time for us, and
Absolutely.
I consider you a vital part of that. And we can talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But I have a question for you after that whole intro. Why coaching?
Yeah, great question. I think early on, when I was a kid, I always liked the idea of being a teacher, and I also liked the idea of having money. And those two things don't collide real well
not
together.
Always, right?
Yeah, not always collide real well. So I went the business route. I had a keen interest in that as well, and went the business route. And fortunate enough, I grew my career really well. But came to a point in the late 1990s, around 2000 actually, where I was in a position to where I was ready to strike out on my own and start a consulting business, a consulting and coaching business, and which combined for me the best sides of both. I was able to become a teacher of sorts, a coach, and apply business principles to that. And so that became my nirvana and my shtick, and I've been able to do it now for the last 25 years. And
so what's the difference between consulting and coaching?
Yeah, also a good question, and those there is a difference. Consultants are generally called in to come fix a problem, right? There's a fire right here, go put it out. A coach is more helping you prevent the fire or get through it yourself kind of thing, right? Coaches should be helping to clear the deck for you to get to where you want to go a little bit faster, maybe see some cliffs that you don't see, maybe give you inspiration and when times are rough, maybe give you fresh perspective. And hopefully that is couched around experience of similar transferable things that may be applying to you that I've been through before. And consulting is much more, I have a problem right here that I cannot solve. I don't need a whole lot of perspective on it. I just need it fixed.
Right.
And those two things toggle back and forth. Some folks stay in one or the other lane. Some folks do both. And, with you mostly it's in a coaching relationship. You don't have a bunch of fires that we go stomp out. But you can imagine lots of companies do, right? That could be an HR issue that comes up, a finance issue that comes up, a revenue issue that comes up. They got to fix something fast or we're circling the drain.
Right.
And then others are more about how do I maximize and get in my highest productivity zone? And that's you, right? How do we keep maximizing the opportunity and your gifts, and how do we get you in the right lane to succeed?
Right. Well, you were pretty early on in the coaching waters.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of used to hearing about coaches. It was confined to the sports world, it seemed like, forever. But over the last, 15, 20 years, it's really gone mainstream.
Definitely, without a doubt. When I first started, I would have clients that would make me sign NDAs not saying that they had a coach. There was still a stigma, similar to the way therapy used to be. And now my best clients beat it like a drum. This is my coach. This is my guy.
Yeah.
This is my guy, right? And the same that you do with a therapist or whatever, right? It's because smart people always want other good resources around them.
Right.
Right. And so now it's I'm so honored to get to do what I do, and I'm so honored when people brag about it.
Yeah.
And so, but there's been a definite transition. It used to be a dark secret. I'm rewatching The Sopranos right now. And Tony in the first season decided to get a therapist. And it was taboo, absolute taboo. That was 1999 for that show, right? And it could have taken his whole business down as the series goes. They had to keep it all secret, the whole 9 yards. Where now you're just about a knucklehead if you don't go surround yourself with good people.
Right. I mean, we can actually say the phrase mental health.
That's right.
Without being ashamed of ourselves for that. Yeah. Well, you work with so many different kinds of people. I mentioned a mutual friend of ours is the Enneagram therapist and coach. Yep. And so what's your favorite kind of client?
Yeah, I like to work with wildly creative people that are borderline nut jobs.
That's why you're sitting here.
And you qualify. So, no, I like to work with people that are not necessarily money-driven or money-hungry. They care about it and want it, but their guiding force is usually something creative. Now, that could be in the music scene. That could be an architect. Anybody that's using that side of their brain to create something is a real thrill for me to try to go, how do we monetize this the right way? And so that's I love working with highly creative people. And I think some of that might be because you guys have something I don't, right? And so I'm attracted to it. And I'm attracted to going, how do we make this not just a hobby or not just something cool, but also put in enough business principles to where you can stay creative and never lose that, but we have enough systems in place to also monetize it.
What do you think is the greatest challenge of working with creative people who don't always want to paint and color within the lines and maybe don't really love the accounting side or the admin side? Here. What's the most challenging side of it?
Well, my whole business shtick is called being corporate enough. Right, corporate enough to succeed.
I was going to ask you about that. I saw that.
Yeah, so I would never come into you and say, John, the most important thing we're going to do is teach you how to use QuickBooks. Doesn't mean you don't need to know what the definition of that is, but we're either going to get you enough skill set to manage or help put the right people around you to manage, which we've done in your case, right? It's like, I don't want you focused on being the best accountant in the world. We can outsource that to the right people. So the biggest challenge to that question is, especially in the creative lanes, a couple of things. Money typically means nothing. Okay, or not very much until you don't have any, or you start with none, and it never becomes a big deal. And then artists, as they start getting some traction, really don't. This goes in the sports world too. Sometimes don't have people around them that'll tell them no, or tell them like it is, right? And so with anybody that's a creative, there's a certain amount of ego involved, and there has to be to have enough chutzpah to put yourself out there, whether that's drawing a building, whether that's getting on a stage. You got to have a certain amount of ego. And so sometimes listening to advice about things that aren't your domain expertise is not even something you want to hit your radar screen. So it's a nuanced approach for sure. Many coaches many coaching programs have the 12-step program. I don't do that. I try to meet you exactly where you are, and just supplement where there might be some threats around your world.
That's really amazing. And I know in our work together, it's amazing. You couldn't even recognize who I am or who we are as a company today, from where we were almost 3 years ago.
It's completely different.
Tremendous. And you've come in and worked your hoodoo a little bit on me, but I've loved our sessions because you seem to have a knack for asking me the right questions and focusing me on the things that are going to make the long-term difference. It's not a quick fix, like you were just saying, and it's felt very tailor-made for us. I know for me personally, I have been in leadership in the church. I've traveled the world singing and speaking in front of people, and I wound up working at 2 major record companies and publishing companies when I was with the Gaithers as VP of Publishing for 7 years, and then Integrity Music, over 20 employees, 18 full-time songwriters, producers. I did over 200 pieces of product, but I was managing creative people on deadlines, and I really had to be pretty buttoned down to do that. But it was still more about songs. It was still more about the fun of creating a song out of a scripture or a worship song, a praise song. And I never really had to worry or even think about marketing. I didn't have to think about accounting. I didn't have to think about attorneys. I didn't have to think about corporate tax returns every year. All of these crazy things that I've had to learn over the years. We're in our 10th year here at NCS, and I've been on the fast track the last 3 years since working with you. And the coaching aspect of that is just vital to me. And one of the things that I've found is that sometimes people resist coaching, at least in my Christian songwriting world, because they think, well, I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. I just need to receive my song from God, and and that's it. So one of the most difficult things I've had to face is educating people on why coaching, from my perspective as a publisher and a songwriter, professional songwriter all these years, is going to help them.
Right.
Do you feel, in that huge setup, do you feel like you've faced that kind of educational challenge?
Sometimes I think it's situational to the person, right? Everybody's got different behavior patterns. There's a type in your business, right? There's a type. So I'm a big believer in that disc profile. So sometimes folks with the really dominant type styles will be resistant on the front side of the relationship. Those people then usually become the most bought in once you get past that brick wall kind of thing. But and it's hard to educate people. It's hard to have a line of just going, I'm going to come educate you on something, because nobody kind of wants to be told what to do, right? And so the way I try to get around that, or my shtick around that, is telling folks, and I probably told you at this point, I'm going to wrap around your business as tight as I can, and hopefully I'm only second to you in terms of who cares about it the most. And that kind of takes some defensiveness out of it. Like, I'm not trying to be a star. I'm trying to make you a star. Right. And so where my victory comes is watching this thing continue to explode and helping you move faster to whatever your end goal is. But there's usually, by the time people engage with me, they're ready. But sometimes then once you engage, there can be a little pushback. I've been doing it long enough to get around that pretty well, though.
You kind of sit in a multifunctional role. At least I'll speak from my perspective, because you're business coach. You are kind of an adjunct CEO for me, because you have that kind of purview overlooking the whole thing. You've guided me into the best accounting we've ever had for our company, and we need it, which is great. But you're also a little bit therapist. you're a little bit cheerleader. You kind of have to move in and out of those things. How do you find that for yourself? I mean, do you feel like you move easily in and out of that?
Yeah, I think everybody's got unique gifts, and I'm terrible at lots of things. But I think one thing that I'm pretty good at is getting on someone's level pretty quick and understanding. And I do that through asking a ton of questions and listening. And my disc profile, for instance, is not a good listener by nature, but I feel like you would never tell me I'm a bad listener because I've trained myself over 20 years to be a good listener. So I'm intensely focused on what you're saying. And then for me, it becomes a puzzle. How do I make the puzzle pieces fit between those four pillars of people, sales, profit, self? I'm always churning that in my mind, knowing that your gifts are going to be naturally in one or two of those, but the other two or three are going to be learned skill sets or supplemented by someone like a good accounting team. So that's it. I'm always trying to think chess. That gets back to the coach versus consultant thing. Consulting is a lot of checkers. Make this move. Fix now. Chess is the big picture. That's what a coach should be pushing. And that's always what's churning in the back of my head while you're coming up with a big idea. I'm trying to mind map it down to the P&L.
I love that.
So that's, even if I don't announce that to you, right? I'm trying to think, what are the ups and downs or the potential outcomes of every single decision?
So tricky.
Yeah, very tricky, but I love it. And the thing about wearing the multiple hats, yes, I appreciate that CEO work. Sometimes I do go in and fill that CEO role for a while or COO role or whatever it may be. And the therapy part, I am not a therapist and don't ever want to get, I so respect the people that do that, but I do get labeled business therapist. But I am really good at not getting over my skis, right? So if we ever had a thing that, I don't know, required heavy therapy, I would say, well, time out, brother. It's time to call.
Right.
Time to phone a friend.
You've gone psychotic.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I want to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I do want to talk again about the people, sales, profit, and self. Right?
Excellent.
I get that right?
You did.
After 2.5 years, I should know that, right? And also, I want to help our listeners who really want to build a business around their music. I want to maybe give some insights and some tips how they might be able to do that.
Great.
All right, we'll be right back. What would it feel like to have 52 weeks of access to the right people in Nashville? People who've been making music for decades. People who can answer every question that you have about what pro-level music making is all about. Well, you can get that and more by joining NCS Community. Our community is a group of worldwide dedicated Christian songwriters who want what you want, to glorify God with your gifts and to get your music out there. I hope that you'll consider joining NCS Community today. All right, well, we're back with Chris Weinberg, who is an amazing coach here in the Nashville area. He coaches everybody from rock stars to comedians to wealth managers to coaches, other coaches, and to little old me here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. I've been working with Chris for about 2.5 years, and it's made all the difference in my life. And Chris, man, we've already had a great first half of the show, and you're a vital part of my team, and I believe in continual education for myself. And a good day for me is a day that I've learned something. And a lot of the things I've been learning by working with you is how to think more like a CEO, like a business person, because I've been the songwriter, a bit of a producer. I don't love producing. I like to hire other people to do that. But I've been on stages all around the world singing, leading worship, teaching. That's kind of been my deal that I've loved. I would say those are my primary gifts. But in this season of my life, God's called me to be the CEO, the president of Nashville Christian Songwriters. And you've been helping me learn how to do that. And you've done that with the 4 pillars of, I want to get it right, people, sales, profit, and self.
You nailed it.
Right?
Yep.
So why don't you break those down a little bit for us, and let's see if we can end up in a place where we're helping our listeners to figure out how to begin to build a business around their music.
This is great. And to the listeners, and if you're an artist and trying to get your footing or have some footing or whatever, wherever you are in your journey, I want you to think about these 2 things. Your primary job, and yours too, John, is, or any business owner, even if you're a solopreneur and your business is your art, right? You're still a business owner. unless it's just a hobby for you. The two mainstays are increased shareholder value, short version of how do I make money. The backstop of that is survival of the enterprise. Inside of those two goalposts are the pillars of people, sales, profit, and self. Like if we have those four in harmony, we got a pretty good shot of increasing shareholder value and survival of the enterprise. Typically, most people are really good naturally in one, maybe two of those lanes. People, sales, profit, self, but never at all four. So there's a skill set deficit. And that's where a good coach comes and either helps develop the skill set or helps you find the right people to balance those. Where I met you is you're very, very strong on the people side of the business. And you have had great success on the sales part of the business, meaning getting your art out there, getting your craft out there. The profit part, very typical for most artists. Don't care. It's the last thing to ever hit your radar screen, right? So that wasn't a skill set. And the self part, okay, fine, But we want all four of those things in balance. And so when we inbound together, I'm trying to listen to where are the strengths and where are the weaknesses and how do we surround ourselves with those. And it's never for me about making what you're not great at really strong. It's about corporate enough until we can get to the point where someone else can do it for you. You have demonstrated an amazing, what you're doing is transferable skill set, right? You've had these transferable skill sets. You've built these skill sets of your domain expertise over these last 40 years, whether that's being an artist or whether that's being at Integrity or whatever. And now you just transferred what you built there into NCS 10 years ago. That's the beauty. And so many people don't recognize that they have transferable skill sets.
That's so good.
Right? And reinvention is such a part of life.
Oh, it is.
And not everybody has that ability, right? Not everybody. And the thing is, as you know, we've got enough years on us to know that life's going to punch you in the face more than once, right? It's going to punch you in the face. And what you're doing today may or may not be what you're doing in 10 years, but you probably have a base of transferable skill set to move that into something else, which is what you've done with NCS.
Right.
And that transferable skill set is going to, into NCS, is going to end up being the biggest thing you've ever done. And so I don't know what I'm probably gotten away from the question a little bit, but in the lanes of the people, sales, profit, self, just very quickly, the people part means how are my relationships internally and externally? Am I building a network? Am I bringing people onto my organization or putting around me that can help get me somewhere versus just being a friend? That's hard. The people side of the business is always the most difficult, always, because emotions are involved. People are different. You don't always see what you get, right? And dialects are different. Perspectives from different parts of the country or other countries are different. It's very difficult to get the people side right, always the most difficult. Sales part, you can figure that out. If you got something good to sell, you get the right people around you. You've got great resources for that as well, helping you to push your message out there as well. Now, selling could be selling yourself if you're independent, right? If you're just a one-man band or one-person band. That becomes networking. How do I keep knocking down doors? How do I not take no for an answer? All that stuff. I mean, we could talk about each of these all day. The profit side, always the easiest and always the last thing that people pay attention to because, A, we don't necessarily learn it in school unless you're majoring in finance or accounting, which no artists ever are, right? So it doesn't hit the radar screen. Right. The beauty of getting a handle on the profit side of the business is just numbers. And the numbers don't have emotion. They don't have they're
don't, so scary.
No, they're not. And so the repetition becomes the thing, right? And so now we have you in a rhythm of looking at numbers every single month. When we first started together, you couldn't even tell me your numbers, right? Because you didn't care. You just, I've got money in the bank. We're doing fine.
Yeah.
That works as long as you've got money in the bank. But a well-defined financial plan or profit and loss statements, balance sheets, that's your report card every month. So that's a way to high-five ourselves or go, you know what, we need to make some slight tweaks here. We're getting in that rhythm now. And so all that's going to do is fuel the sales side because we're going to know where to go.
What's that phrase you say, what you don't measure, you can't manage?
If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And I wish that were my quote, but it's Ken Blanchard, I'm a Ken Blanchard disciple, but it is if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And that's, with numbers, you can absolutely measure it. And so when we know how did we do in each of our sales verticals, we can decide, did we hit our budget or do we need to do some tweaking? And where's our highest leveraged activity? Where's our time best spent based on the report card of these numbers?
Right.
And then the self part is just that. I see so many young entrepreneurs in particular that will fall in love with their business more than they fall in love with their relationships. And that can be a real problem. And so we really focus. This is super important, especially for high achievers who can just go, 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 go. They can accidentally fall in love with the business more than maybe the spouse that sat by them for 5 years while they didn't have a dime in their pocket.
Right.
So we work hard on, are you going on date nights? Are you planning the next vacation? If you need a good therapist to talk to, go to couples therapy. And go when times are great, right? It's always easier to make something good better than it is to make something bad good. Turnarounds are tough to turn around.
Right.
Not impossible. But so we're always doing that. And I focus in those areas really based on the person when I see where's the biggest thing that could trip you up and create no survival of the enterprise. And so we're always tweaking.
Good.
Always tweaking.
So good. And all of those are so necessary, even for Christian artists.
For sure.
And even songwriters, even if you don't plan to get out and be on the road, if you want to build any kind of business success around your songwriting, you have to have all of those elements in place. And I think one of the things I know after 42 years of dealing with Christian songwriters and artists is we tend to have a little bit of a spooky spiritual, well, if God wants me to be successful, if he wants me to get my music out, then he'll do it. So there's a little bit of that that I deal with all the time. So that's why this episode is so important to me because my life scriptures, if you will, Proverbs 16:9, the mind of man plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Well, if you're not stepping and if you're not planning, God doesn't have anything to direct.
That's right.
But we want to sit back on our blessed assurance and wait on God. And I think, I'll challenge that a little bit because there's a right way to wait and a wrong way to wait. And if God's telling you, well, don't do anything yet, okay, cool, wait. But if he's put this burning passion in your heart to have people hear your music, you got to get up and do something.
That's right.
It's not, a big music executive in a big black limo isn't going to just pull up in front of your house unless you've got about 1 million followers on Instagram and you're pumping music out like Justin Bieber or something.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And even him, he was a little kid in his bedroom putting music on YouTube when it was a new thing.
That's right.
He was doing something.
Yeah, God doesn't say be lazy, right?
Yeah, not at all.
That's no one will ever shepherd your career as good as you can.
Right.
No matter who you have around you.
Good word.
Right. And that's where I say I'm going to care about this second to you. I know I can't care about it more than you, but I can be a damn close second, right? A darn close second. And
edit.
But the thing is, you don't want to just have a hobby. If you're right, and you might say this is a hobby, but if it's a business, that means people sells, profit self. Your gift is probably not enough to get you seen. Because to your point about the guy driving out in the big black limo, he's not sitting there thinking, I wonder what Sally's got cooking in her basement on her vocals tonight. You've got to go put yourself out there, right? And so people like to help others as long as they see you're trying to help yourself. And yes, it's hard, but any business is hard. Business is not easy, or everybody would do it.
Right.
Being an artist is excruciatingly difficult, or everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And having a talent, as you know, this town and is full of unbelievably talented people that'll never see daylight with their music. So just being a good artist is not enough.
And you've worked with some of the top level country bands, and it's just as hard up at the top as it is down here at the bottom.
Yeah, the pressures become different. How do we stay on top? Who's real to me? Who's not real to me? How do we make decisions that keep us going? So the fears are usually pretty similar for someone just starting out and someone all the way up. They just have different intensity levels. That's
yes, very true.
Yeah, and so building a team around you to help support you through some of the anxiety and things that to say don't be anxious about anything, that's nonsense. You're going to have some anxiety around things, but you can certainly mitigate that by having some system and structure and advocates around you.
And you know what? That's a very important point, and why we even started our NCS Artist Development Program a couple of years ago. There was a real demand. We were raising up people, great songwriters, great artists, but they didn't really know how to build their platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wound up bringing my 40 years into play from everything I watched at the companies and how we developed artists and the songs and the production and the platform. It just felt like what we were being called to do in that moment is to download all those years of success into a program that someone could say, okay, these guys in 90 days, they're going to give me all the building blocks to launch this career.
Yeah, you are shortening the curve. What you're doing is, I love your business model, and you're taking those 40 years of your grind and helping folks that come into your program shorten the curve, right? It's exactly what we're talking about. You're putting them in the lanes of the people, sales, profit, self. They probably have the talent. You're rounding it out or doing things to enhance it, but you're also showing them how to go monetize their passion.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes Christian artists get a little goofy about that, right? But hey, you still got to buy bread. You want to be able to have a car and a family or something like that. There's nothing wrong with making money doing what your passion is.
Right.
And sometimes that gets a little goofy with Christian artists. Not all the time, but sometimes that's a thing. Your program is freaking amazing, who you're getting to serve, these folks that, whether they're young or old, are getting to live out a dream that may become a business for them, that absent a program like this, they have no idea that it exists or what to do first. And you're just taking that shortcut. I mean, you're living in a coaching space, quite honestly, because talented people are generally going to find their way at some point. What a coaching program does is shorten the curve, or should.
So good.
Is shorten the curve, get you there faster.
That's so good. And when I fell into coaching 10 years ago, NCS would not exist without a coaching program that I fell into. I had a course I had written. I had all those years of experience and success, but I did not know how to set myself up in business or to become a coach. And I paid... In one day, I spent $9,000 to join somebody's program. Well, guess what? In 60 days, NCS was born. And I recouped my money, and we were off to the races.
The program sped you up.
That was hundreds of clients ago, people now making music, making albums, doing singles, doing the whole thing. But I had to learn and talk for just a moment, speak to the investment in coaching, because when I tell people what our programs are, they're premium programs, yes, but you're getting decades of experience, et cetera. But sometimes there's pushback because they're like, well, I don't want to pay that. Yeah. And it's like, well, do you want to have success? So talk for a moment just about the investment in coaching. Yeah,
well, coaching is an investment, and you have to look at it that way versus as an expense, right? An expense is, I got to buy paper towels for the kitchen. That's an expense. What an investment should do is be able to multiply what you spent on it. And not everybody's going to get it, for sure, right? And so sometimes for those folks, you just quit trying to talk them into it, basically. But you just literally said it. You spent $9,000 on a coaching package early on, and that manifested 10 years later. It's still going and bigger than it's ever
absolutely.
been.
Yeah.
Right. So your investment paid off, and you just have to use those words. And I even hate using. Everybody hates to talk about money, right? And just the word investment versus expense. It sounds so cliche, but it is true. Like investment in coaching is a long-term payoff. And so you can't look at it as an expense, as expensive as it may be on the front side of the relationship. So trust becomes a really big thing, right? You've got to be able to, before you sign up with a coach, you've got to hopefully do a little homework and feel like you can trust that person really fast, because you have to give trust fast. The person signing up for the coaching and the coach, you have to be able to develop a trust bond quick. And that's not easy for a lot of people, right? But taking that leap, you kind of got to give the trust away. Yeah. So that you guys you're not dancing with the client about how well we're going to get along. You got to be able to trust fast.
I love that.
And you've got a track record. The other thing that makes that a lot easier, you're 10 years in. So you've got a track record of saying, look what we've done. That alone should buy the trust to get over the hump for the investment.
I mean, we had to start a record label because so much great music was happening around here that nobody was hearing. And so we went out and got distribution, and we do marketing, and it's a pretty amazing thing.
No, you're a full-service gig, which is just amazing. And then the folks that are able to access that would otherwise never get anywhere close to it. That's the gift. That's the gift you're given. And it's all coming from transferable skill sets of things you've built over time.
Right.
So
I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so that's the thing. I mean, your story is one of unbelievable grit. It's a hard business that you've got 4 decades in now. That is, the story could stop there and we'd say high five, right? The story could stop there of pivoting into different areas of the business, of moving, and now of starting a business. I mean, all the while holding a marriage together, right? And raising a beautiful daughter. I mean, and your story's not one that, your story's just like everybody else's. It's bumpy along the way. But look here, 40 some odd years later, here you are, truly in the best season of your life. Not
Love
that
it.
the other seasons were not great.
Yeah.
But they just get building blocks, and sticking with the game. And the other thing you mentioned is you remain a student of the game. And that's where a lot of folks get tripped up, right? They'll take a course, or they'll hit a certain level of success and then kind of coast. Somebody's always coming after you. As soon as you have any kind of success, be it with a song or a business or whatever your domain expertise is, somebody's going to recognize it, want it, and come after it.
Yeah.
So you've got to be continuously improving. And in our time together, that's all you've been doing is continually improving from a base that was already good.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah. Someone said to me one time that, while you're taking a nap, the devil's doing push-ups.
That's right.
That's right. It's right. I want to stay sharp. I want to stay relevant and in the game. And I feel like I'm making the best music of my life.
Yeah.
We definitely have an amazing thing happening here at Nashville Christian Songwriters that you're part of. And I'll make one more comment as we close here. Someone also said to me, well, you're just selling dreams, and it's like, no, I'm not selling dreams. I'm serving the dreams of our clients.
Yeah.
And I know that's what you do, because that's what you do for me. It's not a cookie cutter kind of thing in either of our lives. It's about identifying the best gifts and the talents and the all the best of what someone is, shoring up the things you can, but really focusing in on those things that are working. So
You're a dream weaver. That's how I would do it, right?
Weaver.
Yeah, seriously.
Wait, what's that song?
Yeah, that is the song. But people have these dreams, no matter what the business is. That's not just to music folks. People that go into business have a dream. A good coach helps you weave that dream into becoming a reality, right? So when someone says, you're selling dreams, that's hogwash, right? You are helping someone with their dream get to where they're trying to go.
Yeah. People, sales, profit, and self.
That's it.
Chris Weinberg, what a great talk today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
All right, you guys, go and check out wellcoachedconsulting.com. You can read all about Mr. Chris Weinberg, the clients he serves there. You'll see us right there. And just appreciate so much you tuning into the Song Revolution podcast. Follow along with the NCS 2025 Songwriting Challenge Guide. You can find it in the show notes. Go ahead and sign up. It's not too late to jump in. We've got the rest of this year. You're going to be somewhere in a year, we hope. So let's make it the best songwriting season of your life. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.